Hello, everyone. This is Geoffrey Nance here. Normally coming to you on Wednesdays for Word Wednesday, but here I am on a Tuesday for what is called Tip Tuesday. So I've got a couple of things I wanted to share with you guys today. All of you guys that are joining in with us, appreciate you being a part of this and listening in each week as we give you some of these trading tips. My tip today is actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's about knowing your tools and then using them correctly. So, if you have used any tool, particularly if you're into doing a woodworking project, there are lots of tools available. If you were to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace or True Value or you name it, they got all kinds of tools there for a bunch of different jobs. And the key is not only knowing about a tool, just saying, hey, that's an axe, that's a table saw, that's a screwdriver. It is not merely enough to know what a tool is called. You have to know what it does. And then you have to make sure that you are using the proper tool for the proper job. So, for us, we're primarily coming on here and we're talking about trading. And I wanted to spend a little time with you this morning making sure that you were aware of the tools that are really available to you so that you're prepared to use them and to use them in the correct way. So, if I were to do a project that required a saw, there are several different types of saws. Depending on how intricate the job is going to be, I would need a certain type of saw in order to do that. Now, there are some saws that are very simple, very straightforward. I could basically take anybody in our audience. Really, I could just pull somebody off the street and be like, can you draw a line? Can you pull a lever? Great. Here's a, do this one. You just make a straight cut down. Boom, there you go. You're probably not going to mess that up. Pretty straightforward. Now, if I get in there and say, all right, here's a circular saw. So you're going to have to draw this line here, and then you're going to have to cut through it. And you need some safety glasses. You need to be aware of this. Make sure you're holding it right. Make sure you got some sawhorses or kind of a steady surface here because you're going to have to make this cut. And by the way, you're going to need somebody to help you hold it, or you're going to have to hold it in a certain way that's going to make sense. And you got to stay on this line. It's a little different now. If we get into something like a jigsaw, well, now you may be making some intricate designs or anything that changes. Okay. So we not only need to know what the right tool is, but then we have to be familiar with how to use that tool. I suspect a lot of you guys are aware of some of the things that are available to you for use in trading. Now, depending on kind of the level that you feel like you are in your trading journey, the tools that are available to you are going to be the same. Your familiarity with those might vary quite widely. And then some of it, just like anything that you're going to do, any kind of job, as you kind of progress in your ability to do woodworking projects or whatever, you're probably going to add certain tools as you realize, oh, I don't really have what I need to maybe fill in this little hole here. Or maybe I need some glue. Maybe I need this. Maybe I need some sandpaper. Or you know what? I'm going to have to do a lot of sanding. I need a sander. I mean, maybe even have to grind this thing. So you're going to add to those things over time. And your trading journey should be the same. You should be adding tools over time, but it's not merely enough just to have tools. If I don't know if you guys are like me, you got a garage, you got a tool shed, you got stuff that's just sitting out there, but it's not really being used. Well, I don't want you guys doing that with your trading tools. I want you actively using your trading tools. But the reason that most of us don't use a tool is one, because we don't know how to use it. Like we don't really know what it does. So therefore, we're not inclined to really do much with it. Or two, we're not very familiar with it and we don't know how to use it. Or number three, we don't feel like we have a project that requires that. Okay, so let's just start with that one. Do you have a project where you should be using your trading tools? Absolutely. All right. If you're planning on trading, then you have a reason to be gathering tools and to be preparing to use those tools because you have a project. That project is, hey, I have a stock market. I want to understand how it works. and I want to use the tools that are available to me adequately. The first time I went to one of our Step One events, I thought it would just be kind of a regular financial seminar. So, with a background in ministry, that meant basically it was a you could talk for hours, but you were going to end up saying the same three things. Okay, so here this should summarize it for you. Look, you need to spend less, you need to save more, and you need to try to get out of debt. So when I heard about this thing, I figured, okay, I mean, I guess I'll go, but I can already tell you what you're going to say. It's just a matter of how you're going to wrap that package up. So you want to put a bow on it, whatever. I already know what you're going to say. Just, you know, but I'll go. Wow. Was I shocked when I heard the presentation? I was like, what in the world? I had no idea that these things existed. So I remember coming home and telling my wife, I was like, wow, that was not what I expected that to be. Apparently, I can look at this chart and then I can use that to know whether or not the stock market is going to go up or down from one day to the next, and then whether an individual stock is likely to go up or down from one day to the next. And I can begin to recognize patterns like a stoplight, and then to kind of know what I should do based off of what I'm seeing with the chart. I was like, I don't know if they're right, but if they are, that's fantastic. Why has nobody ever told me about this before? I just remember being really, I think it's not inappropriate to use the word fascinated by this idea that a chart even existed, and that and that it was a form of communication where these professional traders would go in there and they would draw lines, and they would use these lines to anticipate what we know as support and resistance. So again, we're buying low near support, we're selling high near resistance. But the very thought that you can see this happening, that you can kind of anticipate what's going to happen. That doesn't mean it's going to happen the way that you think every single time, but really, a lot of times the market is going to do something that makes sense, and we'll be able to see that. And now that is knowing what tools are available to you and then using them appropriately. And I remember coming home and saying, look, I've got to figure out how this works. Like, how do I recognize patterns? How do I begin to use a chart? How do I begin to understand how these professionals are communicating with one another? And I did. I mean, I sat down and I spent hours and hours and hours just looking at charts. And even to this day, I've been doing it for 10 years now. It's still a big part of what I do. I go chart. Now, have I learned different strategies along the way? Absolutely. Um, do I look at things a certain way? Do I have a different insight maybe than somebody who's starting out? Yeah, absolutely. But that ought to be true with anybody. So whether you're, playing a sport or playing an instrument, if you've been doing it for 10 years, you ought to have more insight, you ought to have more ability, you ought to be more advanced than somebody who's just starting out. So I want to encourage you guys to understand that charting is a serious tool for you to have in your tool belt that you really want to master as much as you can. You want to get to a point where you can say, I am very proficient at using this tool, and I understand why this tool is important. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is going through, and I'm actually going to be teaching on Thursday a drawing lines workshop, basically. So I think we'll be on there for about an hour, and would really encourage you guys to check that out, because drawing lines and drawing accurate lines is very, very important. So, if I were to say to you, hey, I just need you to cut a board, but I didn't give you any specific dimensions, you could go do that. That'd be very easy for you to do. Just to be like, all right, here we go. I did it. Now, if I told you, you could pick a saw, um, or you could pick a hammer, or you could get a hand saw, a table saw, you name it. You could then decide, okay, which one do I feel um, like is the best tool for me to use? Which one do I feel like is the one that's going to help me do the job most effectively? Which one do I feel the most comfortable using? All of those things are going to be factors in determining which apparatus you're going to use to go and cut that wood. Now, we could all say, all right, I did it. But the reality is, if I'm doing a project, I need to do more than just tell you to go cut some boards. They need to be accurate cuts. So if I need it like 16.5 inches and you're off and it's 16 3/8, we might can make that work. There's some things that we can do to kind of be like, all right, that's close enough. But if you come back and you've got a board that's supposed to be 16.5 and you cut it at 12, I'm going to be like, no, that's not what I needed. Right. So if you feel like, all right, so I'm interested in charting, I want to know, I want to learn more about it, but I still don't feel like I have the information needed to draw accurate lines to adequately represent what's really happening in the market. Like today, I was doing something that we make available to a certain group of our traders, and it's called the live hour. It's the last hour of trading. So from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Central, we get on there and we talk about the market. And so one of the things that I was saying to those guys is kind of explaining, hey, after a big move up yesterday, we may be at a potential resistance line. So it's like, hey, the market would be down today. And that would not be uncommon for us to see the market pull back to be down a little bit. I don't know if you guys are watching or not, but what you would find is that, yes, indeed, the market is down today. And we talked about that. So we did this, we talked about it. This was something that we mentioned and made available to our folks. And part of the reason that I was able to do that yesterday is because of the charting, because of the ability to draw accurate lines. So if you want to learn more about that, just it's not really enough just to say, hey, here's a tool that's available, but you would say, I want to take it to the next step, Geoffrey. I want to know, when you were doing something like that yesterday, what made you think that today would be a down day? Like, how did you even see that line on your chart? What drew you to that? Those are some of the things that we're going to talk in more detail about on Thursday. And then, of course, some of you guys that have been with us for a while, you know that we have lots of opportunities available for you to continue to grow in your education. But just like any tool that you have available to you, all right, it's best if you have somebody who's willing to come along and teach you how to use that and to make the accurate cuts, how to measure it out, how to understand how that fits into your overall project. And we want to be available to help you in that. So if you just feel like you're starting out, you're like, I don't even know what a chart is, I've never seen one, sounds pretty cool, why don't you think about joining us on Thursday? If you feel like, you know what, I've seen them, I've got my own, but I don't know that I draw accurate lines, but you want to get a little bit better at it, well, then we're going to talk more about that. And if you're just sitting out there going, hey, I'm just looking for some general trading tools, but I am interested in learning more, we've got opportunities for you as well. So that's my tip for you guys today. Know what tools are available to you, know what tools are required for the job, and then become proficient at using those tools and get better at doing so over time. Thanks for being with us, guys. I hope you enjoyed that today. I really do think that trading is a journey and it's a process. And as you move through that, there are some things that you're going to be able to do over time. And you're going to be excited about that as you kind of continue to see your own progress. So we want to see each of you guys make progress in your training journey as you keep moving forward. Part of that is by learning how to use the tools that are available to you in the right manner, in a constructive manner, and in a way that ends up producing something that you're excited to have built. So thanks for being on with us, and we will see you guys next time.